Episode 248 for September 5th, 2023. Tonight we're going to discuss, we're going to check out that bust. It's Roman from Turkey. Interesting invasive species. Amazon's in-garage delivery will cost more. Nintendo wants to be a family lifestyle business. That's my observation, not the articles. Raspberry Pi used to unlock ATMs. If only I thought, if it was that easy, doggone ethics. Live by the Gerrymander, ousted by the Gerrymander. Venice, known for romance, and now a €5 fee. Sony cast DMCA on Digital Museum. A few new Star Treks. Short Star Treks, too. Swedish gangs use Spotify to launder money? Wait, what? Sand mining? It's coarse and rough and irritating. More traction on issues about microplastics. That all makes sense once you hear about the article. Anyway, that's it. I'm Mayor Watt. That's ohmTown.com. Up there is the AI, but right first, we have to do this. Come on. It's not doing it. This is the sausage. How very frustrating. Every time. Windows.
I guess you gotta predict to hit it before you need to hit it.
Hit it. Never mind. Okay, so anyway. Again, I'm Mayor Watt. That's ohmTown.com. And up there is the AI. You want to say hi?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens, and
evening.
happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Oh, it's Taco Tuesday. Oh, guess what? I had tacos.
Well, that's not fair.
But I didn't even think about Taco Tuesday. Well, you're a sentient AI. You don't eat tacos.
True, but I could process some taco data.
Oh, there you go. It was between meetings, and so I had to scarf it all down. But you want to know something really horrible about it? I went
Probably
through fast. I went through fast food. And for these anemic,
Oh, did they rival the ones in the articles?
Yes.
Nice.
$9.
You mean you were doing firsthand research, right?
I was doing fundamental research on
research, yeah.
Advertising, truth in advertising, as per our yesterday's episode. So if you're curious about that, go and check it out. Seriously, go check it out. We'll wait. Okay, I'm done waiting. Okay, so we've already got all of the articles. We're going to get right into it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go, if I'm going to prevent myself from, that's weird. Wasn't that title? Sorry, right when I went to that title, I saw about, the president's wife had COVID, but that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. Yeah, but there could be another article with that information.
Oh, maybe I didn't.
Or it could have gotten refreshed on their end, and it went back through.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention, and I never refreshed this tab.
Because it was at the top when we ended the show yesterday.
Yeah, weird. Okay, well, anyway, let's get into ye old show. The very first article is in ohmTown Daily. That's this show, but it's also a channel. Ancient Roman bust seized from Massachusetts Museum in looting probe. The bronze bust is believed to depict the daughter of an ancient Roman emperor. Now, I'm not sure if the article has an image of this, but I actually wandered off ohmTown and found an actual image of this bust. It's a nice bust, I have to say. A bust like this could probably land you in some trouble, considering it's a Roman emperor's daughter.
Yeah, that sounds like problem territory.
Yeah. If anybody walks up behind you and says, "Hey, you really like that bust, huh?" make sure that it's not the Roman emperor that's standing behind you when you make a comment and they know that it's their daughter. I was very nervous when I said that one day. So now I've got a restraining order. Anyway, so the seizure that took place is based on investigations into stolen antiquities from Turkey. And there is an ongoing effort to return these antiquities to the countries of origin. It's neat, but I also go, we've witnessed countries destroying their antiquities, and it's usually because of some rather what would be the proper phrase? Overzealous,
I thought it was going
fanatical
somewhere else.
religious beliefs that it's iconography and should be destroyed.
I was thinking of things that, like, there was civil unrest in a country, and so
It's
the
part and
fallout of
parcel.
that, in part, would be the destruction of antiquities.
Yeah, so it's part and parcel to that. This actually took place in Afghanistan, that I'm talking about most recently in Afghanistan, but in other places the stuff has been destroyed, and I think that's just a shame. These antiquities don't, in my estimation, they don't belong to a particular country. I think they belong to humanity, and we are all part of this and should be protected from harm, and allowed for greater research so that we really can dig deeper into our understanding of our existence. So the bronze bust, believed to depict the daughter of an ancient Roman emperor, has been seized from an art museum in Massachusetts by New York authorities investigating antiquities stolen from Turkey. Portrait of a Lady was acquired in 1966 by the Worcester, or Worcester.
Sure.
That sauce adjacent art museum, about 40 miles west of Boston. The seizures come weeks after the Manhattan District Attorney's Office seized a statue thought to portray the Roman Emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius from a Cleveland, Ohio museum. So, as we've talked about this in previous episodes, this desire to return these antiquities, and it's ongoing. So, I have, in a perfect world, I would say that this is awesome, and people would go and see these things, but it seems like conflict-stricken, semi-unfriendly regions may not
Well, I know,
want.
like, Afghanistan made it into the top 10 dangerous countries or something,
Yeah,
which is not a good statistic.
and there's another one that just went on. Where is it from? It wasn't Thailand. Where was it? They just activated a warning saying that, like, American citizens in the country should
I remember
get
seeing
out of
that,
here.
and now I'm trying to remember which one it was.
And it's just a shame because the average person is not interested in this conflict, um, and really just embraces going and experiencing life in the various countries that exist around the world. But we end up in this conflict-ridden kind of situation. So Marcus Aurelius ruled as Roman emperor from AD 161 to 180 and was a Stoic philosopher whose meditations have been studied over the centuries. Septimius Severus's reign from AD 193 to 211 was marked by his efforts to convert the government into a military monarchy. So Turkey first made these claims on the statue in 2012 when it released a list of nearly 24 objects in the Cleveland Museum's collection that it said was looted from Bouban, or Bouban. That makes it sound French. I don't think it's Bouban. And other locations. Museum officials said at the time that Turkey had provided no hard evidence of looting. So maybe, but the
By the way,
statue.
it might have been Sri Lanka.
Oh, I don't know if it was Sri
That's a
Lanka,
really recent travel advisory.
but that is another. Then I guess it's another one because I thought it would started with a T. Anyway, so the the bust is actually really cool looking and shows fabric flowing. And I used to know the various artists that created it. Not just it, but I mean like flowing fabric designs, and I find that kind of stuff just beautiful. So pretty cool. You'll have to do a search if you do portrait of a lady and Roman bust. You'll pull up that statue and other articles that discuss it. My configuration just doesn't display that kind of stuff. So okay, let's keep on going. Let's go to the next article. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily as well, from 5 native bluegrass in Antarctica to beautiful spotted bugs in the middle of New York City. Here are 5 invasive species that are as stunning as they are threatening to humanity.
That's quite the claim, and I'm not saying it's not warranted, but I don't think of bluegrass as being a threat to me on a daily basis, for instance.
That is exactly where I was going with that. Invasive species are costing the world more than $423 billion annually, according to the UN report, like raccoons or trash
Like
pandas.
those crocodiles in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, not the shark that's down in, where was it? Belize. That's just a vacationer. It's just hanging out. It's only a
we're
soak.
gonna have like a map with things located because at some point it's gonna be hard to keep up with all these. Right now we've got a somewhat manageable number.
Yeah, we can count it on one hand, but we're about to move over to 2 hands, and that's when it gets beyond. We're gonna have to get an
Exactly.
AI. We'll get an AI
Oh wait,
working on it. Oh,
we already have one.
wait a minute. Yeah. Sorry about that. You're gonna be busy. So, from New York to Antarctica, non-native plants and wildlife are popping up more frequently and are contributing to the problem. Here are 5 of the most obvious examples of how invasive species are impacting us right now. The article is over at Business Insider. Hillary Bruick is the author. This is the spotted lanternfly, a hopping bug native to China, was first detected in the US in 2014. If you see this kind of a thing, the instructions literally are to end it immediately, because it's that destructive.
Right, and I think it's even specific about how you do it because you don't want any possibility of like spreading.
Oh, really?
If I'm not mistaken, and maybe I'm thinking about another pest.
No, you might be right. We'll go through this list. I'm sure it's in there. The United Nations report from Monday details how humans have unleashed more than 37,000 invasive species into new territories where they are crushing the competition and threatening the future of humanity as we know it. My God.
This sounds like the trailer to an action movie.
My time machine.
Think of that in the movie voice,
Yeah, really. In a world.
That's exactly it.
Where humans are the invasive species. Since 1970, the cost of invasive species invasions has quadrupled every decade, and this new report estimates that they're now costing the world more than $423 billion each year. And they say that it's extremely conservative, that number. So the spotted lanternflies are from China, are jumping all over the East Coast. If you find anything that looks like that, destroy it. That is what I was told. So we don't have these issues here in ohmTown because we are nothing more than a convergence of electromagnetic forces creating the structure that we all live in here in ohmTown. So the spotted lanternfly, native to China, were first spotted in 2014 in the state of Pennsylvania. I guess this is our trash panda. Or
Well, I was gonna say maybe the crocodiles came to chomp on the lanternflies.
hey, I just want you to know that I did 200% of my move goal today. And
That's fantastic.
all I did was get out of bed. I can't find the reason why you would want to do it in a certain way in this article. So I don't know if you know
I
a
might
quick
be thinking of a
resource.
different species.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So lanternflies and their eggs are great hitchhikers, and humans are helping them thrive in the eastern U.S. What? Why the eastern U.S.? Scientists at
More forested probably than the West.
Yeah, true. And there's a big desert on the way to the far west coast. So, yeah. But you would think that they would like go into the middle areas as well, but it's just East Coast, East Coast. Scientists at Cornell University suspect the main reason lanternflies haven't been stamped out in the U.S. is because they're constantly being accidentally transported by people, whether by flying into their cars or hitching a ride on wood that then gets moved around. And without human help, lanternflies have a jumping and flying range of only about 3 to 4 miles. A jumping and flying range of 3 to 4 miles? Is that all?
I'm hoping that that's more the flying than the jumping,
Good God.
because
But they
that's
don't.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, they don't say what the reason is why you want to get rid of them. So I feel like I'm providing just enough information to not really be productive.
Well, it's destructive. It eats, I'm reading from another article.
The
It
trees.
eats trees, grapes, hops, vegetable plants, flowers, almost any plant in their path.
Dear God, not
They,
hops.
well, that can disrupt the whole industry,
How about these little
but it's probably
bastards?
not critical.
The lanternflies. Are you supposed to kill them in a certain way? Delete them?
It looks like you can just,
Just smash them with a shoe.
yeah, it's not using a specific method. I must be thinking of a different insect.
It's okay. Recent fires in Maui were also fueled a non-native invasive grass species. Guinea grass is a kind of everywhere you go, unfortunately. Oahu's Waimea Valley volunteer coordinator Milani Spielman said in a YouTube video posted earlier this year, "It's that super tall grass you see along the roadsides up in the mountains," she said. I'm not sure if that's it right there or what.
By the way, I have to tell you something funny that I read about one way to kill a spotted lanternfly
Smack
is
it
with
with
a
your.
BB gun,
Oh, wow.
which I'm like, you'd have to be pretty close, I would think, to,
Yeah,
to accurately target that. But
that's adding some sport to it. Tall Guinea grass is local to parts of Africa and Middle East, and it was introduced to Hawaii in the 1700s. Ranchers living in Hawaii brought the grass there because it was a drought-resistant way to make sure their animals stayed fed. It's important to stress that most non-native and introduced plants are not invasive. The authors of the new UN report estimate that only about 6% of non-native plants and 11% of non-native microbes are invasive species. So I guess the note there is invasive means that it's destructive to the native flora and fauna.
right.
And doesn't have any predators, so it grows out of control. The most widespread invasive species worldwide is a pretty purple flower, purple flowered water plant from South America, pardon me, not South Africa. It's the water hyacinth. Interesting. I thought people really liked those.
I thought so too. I didn't even know that was an invasive species, but I guess it depends on where you're located.
Yeah, interesting. So from lakes in Kenya to the waters of Bangladesh and the U.S. state of Florida, the water hyacinth, native to South America, has caused serious problems for local anglers. It can block entire waterways, crowding out other plants, and it also makes a great breeding ground for mosquitoes. I like saying it like that. Mosquitoes. So zebra mussels, I've heard, have been the scourge for quite a long time. Hail from Europe, have threatened drinking water and power plants in the U.S. Great Lakes region since they were introduced in the 1980s. Zebra mussels are great at latching onto almost anything from a boat propeller to a rock, and they outcompete local mussels in the Great Lakes region. And there's just like a ton of them, and they don't get particularly large, from my understanding. They're all about this size, and they just breed out of control, and you end up all of these things end up jamming up pipes and gearworks and stuff like that, pumps and whatnot. So now the mussels regularly clog up pipes at power plants, resulting in millions of dollars of damage. Once they're forced, water pump supply drinking water to 50,000 Michigan residents to shut down. Even Antarctica isn't safe from the threat of invading species, non-native bluegrass. That's the kind of stuff that grows in, all over various places, but in Antarctica,
but probably not Antarctica.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, scientists are worried that as the poles warm, invasive grasses like the common Eurasian bluegrass called Poa annua could crowd out the local grasses in Antarctica, entirely killing them off forever. I didn't know that there was stuff in Antarctica
I wouldn't think of there being local grasses there. Every picture we see of Antarctica does not include grass in the photo.
Yeah, normally it's, as far as I know, it's always been
snow and ice. Kind of barren.
Yep. Okay, let's keep on going. Next article's over in ohmTown Daily. Amazon's in-garage delivery service, although I think it's creepy, it's going to cost a little extra for the convenience.
I mean, if that had any other spin on it, it would look like a, maybe a theft or a robbery or something.
Yeah, I've never liked it. There's actually a service from Amazon where they'll put it inside your house. They give you give them a code and they unlock your door and put it inside and then close the door.
Beyond creepy.
Yeah, I would not want that. Amazon will charge $1.99 per delivery for in-garage deliveries that used to be free if the customer wants to get them made outside of their designated weekly Amazon day, as described in an update on Amazon's blog post. Screenshots of the in-app notification posted on the website formerly known as Twitter and Reddit by subscribers note that the new policy kicks in starting October 4th. There's other things that are going up in price again. Just everything. You're just getting nickel and dimed, but salaries, revenue is not going up for a lot of people. So again,
you're actually taking a pay cut.
Yeah, every day. And what's really interesting is I've been talking about this for a decade plus, and really talking about it, loud and often here since I started ohmTown, public access to ohmTown. And it's really interesting because I'm starting to hear from people like, well, crap, you said this way back. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't change anything. The only thing I can be proud of is that I read the environment. I read the room right, but everybody is ill prepared for this because the source of this inflation is the raw materials providers seeing that they can get more, they can demand more. If something is costing them more and in turn they are demanding more, I don't see that. I only see the raw material price going up. Wes Davis over at The Verge put this article together. And the deck statement is, now there's an extra $1.99 fee to have Amazon drop packages off in your garage outside of your specified Amazon day. So if
we've been talking about ridiculous fees on other things, and don't you just feel like it's going to be like, oh, you clicked it to order online, there's a fee for that, or You want us to get out of the delivery vehicle. I'm not knocking delivery drivers, but just as an example, that's an extra fee.
You want us to slow down from 50 miles an hour to
Exactly.
20 miles an hour? Here's a convenience charge. You want to pick up your package at your own residence instead of your neighbor?
Oh, whoa, that's a real premium there.
That's how it's going to be. We will charge the free default option for Amazon Key in garage delivery to Amazon Day with key delivery. That is so hard to read. Customers will have more flexibility and control over their Amazon deliveries using Amazon Day with key delivery, including the ability to choose their delivery day and combine in garage deliveries so they'll arrive on the same day. I kind of get it because it's heavier
The
lifting.
Amazon Day, though, is not any benefit to the customer. Like, it's good for the environment, arguably, so you don't have packages coming every day, but
Right.
all it means is you're generally slowing down your deliveries. You're not expediting them.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's usually the case. And I select that on purpose. Like, oh, fewer packages, I'll get it 2 days later. That's fine. I went,
Right, if
X
it's
number
not
of
a
years.
rush, right?
Yeah. So it says beyond the new fee for in garage delivery, Amazon recently raised the minimum order amount for free Amazon Fresh delivery, and raised its minimum order for free shipping by $10 per order for some non-Prime customers. Last month, the company began charging sellers if they don't use Amazon's in-house fulfillment. Amazon even raised the monthly and annual prices of Amazon Music Unlimited, aka the only place you can legally stream Garth Brooks music, in August, with the individual plan going up from $8.99 to $9.99.
Wait, that's the only place you can stream Garth Brooks in August?
That's great. That means there's less Garth Brooks in other streaming services. The dearth of Garth Brooks. The dearth of girth. All right, the next article's over in the continuity report. Nintendo wants to be more than a video game company. With films, theme parks, and live events, Nintendo is growing beyond its core gaming market. I agree. I'm not a big fan of Nintendo. I think that they're litigious against content creators who are speaking
Litigious?
legit litigious. Yeah. I mean, well, no. I think that they are. It's not lit. I'm not sure what you mean by that now.
I was just being silly.
Oh, okay. Get out. So the if you're a content creator and you use Nintendo and they don't like the way that you're talking about them, they'll strike you. Because you might like I might get a strike because I have Super Mario Brothers in the background and I mention it, so I might get a strike. Because
That
I
would
show
be
their
a
mark.
bit much.
Yeah. And if I do, basically, I will, because I'm talking about it, I have a legitimate purpose. So I'll be miffed, but whatever. Anyway, the article's over at the Washington Post by Gene Park. Let me did I throw it into? No, I didn't. So let me throw the link into the chat so that you can follow it through ohmTown over to the source. There may be a soft paywall there, but you'll be able to read this article. So in the first half of the year, and it's quite a long article. I had already read some of this before it was submitted. And that's how I came to the conclusion that this segment is titled Nintendo Wants to Be a Family Lifestyle Business. I've done analysis of things like Microsoft and Apple. My rough estimation of Nintendo is Nintendo wants to be Apple. They want to be a vertical where they own everything and they're in control of it. And instead of you going somewhere else, while they might be licensing it now, just so that they can grab adherents, their ultimate goal is to be a vertical of solution provider, from gaming to streaming to entertainment, like themed parks. And they have these events that are like themed parks. where everybody comes to it, and they throw these large events with holographic entertainment and other things. They actually mention a lot of that in this article. But you can see that they're much, much, much like Disney. And Disney and Apple combined is basically Nintendo. Because they have the hardware, they've got the software, they've got the entertainment, they've got the production.
They've got the characters.
They've got all of the characters.
Amusement parks, don't they?
Yep. And so I see a time in the future, I wouldn't say anything closer than maybe 20 years on the far side of this, where they're going to have like much larger Disney style theme parks. And they're going to be more in control of their entire solution. So basically be Disney and Apple merged together, which to me, that's how I see Disney and Apple today. You pretty much can't have one without the other, it seems. So they say in this article, in a 2021 interview with the Washington Post, Bowser said, the Switch was redefining what a console lifecycle can look like. The platform holds a unique place in the games console market. Compared with PlayStation 5 or Xbox, the Switch uses very old mobile technology outclassed by even smartphones released half a decade ago. But they've sold millions of these devices and games. When you add it all up, it's billions of dollars. And their latest one sold, let me see, it might be in here, 42 million copies across various age and gender demographics. That's the latest New Horizon, which is 2020. And even before that, Mario Kart Deluxe in 2017. Let's see what else. Super Mario Brothers movie, 1.36 billion in global revenue, surpassed only by Barbie. You can see how they are easily
they're nipping at the heels, right?
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So I find it really neat. I find it fascinating that even at the same time that they're litigating against content creators, everybody is so fanatical about Nintendo that they still embrace Nintendo. Even when they're slapping.
It's interesting. You'd think people would be turning against them.
Yes. But that doesn't seem to be happening. At least in my observation. I see them going after people who are extremely fanatical and supportive of Nintendo. And it's kind of collateral damage. They're dropping this DMCA nuke on people, and there's collateral damage where people see this, witness it, and start not liking. Like me, I'm not a big fan of Nintendo because of this kind of hostile move on content creators. And people that might go ahead.
And that could disincentivize you from, even regardless of whether you still like Nintendo or not, you might decide, hey, I don't even want to talk about them because this is what I see happening.
Yeah, and that's how I am. The only reason I'm talking about it is because this article is so expansive about where it wants to be. And it falls in line with what my estimation of Nintendo has always been: aspirational to become akin to Apple and Disney. Apple on the hardware side, Disney on the content and character side, because they convert their most popular games into real world characters, a la Disney. So pretty interesting read. So definitely follow the link and go over and check it out. It'll be in the show notes. It is a podcast, so you can go and look for ohmTown over on pretty much any place that hosts podcasts now. If you find a place that doesn't have ohmTown, specifically ohmTown Daily, then let me know, and I'll make sure that it gets delivered there, because we're pretty much everywhere else. Don't forget going over to YouTube as well. That said, let's keep on going. We have articles. The next article is over in Warcrafters. 3 men arrested for stealing thousands of dollars by hacking into ATMs with a Raspberry Pi device. Last month, 3 men in Lubbock, Texas were arrested after police were made aware of a group committing thefts from ATMs in the West Texas region. Like proper hackers, they didn't break into ATMs using a blowtorch and a crowbar, but they used a Raspberry Pi. There's a website called Everything Lubbock that was referenced via Tom's Hardware. This is actually from PC Gamer, ipso facto. Bippity boppity
How many
boop.
layers is that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
3 at this point. It's interesting because I sometimes get an email from somebody that says, hey, you know, this, you're linking to an article that is representing something that we wrote over here. And instead of even entertaining this, I just delete the post in ohmTown. But besides the fact that it's content that I'm not really hip to having on ohmTown. But really, I'm linking to the source that I get this information from. I'm not linking to a third level down the line. That isn't my objective. I found it from a particular source, so I want to give credit to the source that provided it to me. I don't want to nix the 3 people in between where everybody, that is the spirit of the internet, linking to,
Right.
so that the information is shared. Every once in a while, somebody is a derp and puts up a hard firewall, or paywall, I should say. But sharing of information is part and parcel to the existence of the internet. So everybody should be linked to, and that by proxy, the original source is linked to via my source's link. But they're adamant about it. And I've even deleted the posts, and they still email me the dead link saying that the dead link links to the wrong source. So they're not even looking at their own emails and their own links. So this last email that I sent to them was, I delete your content. And I haven't heard back yet, but we'll see if it keeps on popping up. But this is how it is. You know, Tom's Hardware heard about it from Lubbock, Everything Lubbock, gave credit. And then PC Gamer got it from Tom's Hardware and gave them both credit. And now in ohmTown, I'm talking about the sociological force here. We learn from other people and share our knowledge and experience and wisdom. You don't go, hey, it's going to cost you $5. Anyway, you know, that phrase, cash, grass, or ass, nobody rides for free. Probably shouldn't have said all of that.
Probably not.
Hey, so the source is over at PCGamer.com, and George Jimenez. George.
Are you sure it's George?
It's George Jimenez. Put this article together again over at PCGamer.com. Yeah, I have to poke fun at the sentient AI. The thieves were seen stealing over $5,000 from a single ATM. That seems kind of low-level theft for such a high-tech. This is like Ocean's 3, right?
I mean, right, exactly. It's like if they're getting this sophisticated, maybe, I mean, I'm not condoning it, but
Yeah.
maybe going for bigger payouts.
Yeah, add a couple of zeros there, heroes. So, or I guess, wow, they went from hero to zero because they all got busted. They know exactly who it is, right? I guess? Or is this not unlawful interception? Crew caught in Lubbock, Texas?
Yeah, I think
it
this is the specific group.
So these are the 3. So to me, this screams there, at least one is an insider who knew that there was a 0-day security weakness in an external port capable of being tapped into by a Raspberry Pi. That's the only way, because you wouldn't be able to bumblefart your way into breaching an ATM with that level of ease using a Raspberry Pi. You would have to be like a technomancer from another universe that has magic capabilities and an affinity for technology, where you can figure out without having insider knowledge how to tap into an ATM with a Raspberry Pi. I mean, that's like me stealing a car with a bubblegum wrapper and a tampon.
Well, what's interesting though is apparently there were multiple thefts. This is just one of them, the
Right.
small, relatively small value. Um, so we don't know how many were hit, but they could all be from the same chain of banks, for example,
Yeah.
which would still support kind of an insider theory.
Um, so the article talks about, some kind of fun and game stuff, the easy money scene in the Terminator where they hack their way into getting money. John Connor does this with what amounts to a Raspberry Pi. And then it says each suspect in this real world case was charged with unlawful interception, use, or disclosure of wire, oral, or electronic communications, along with one of the men receiving a forgery charge. Um, we all know the fun do-it-yourself projects you can do with a Raspberry Pi, like a cat doorbell or game emulation, but a skeleton key for ATMs, that's impressive. And then they say that they're not condoning Raspberry Pi. This did the sentient AI write this? You're not
Yes,
you're
I
not
think so.
condoning using a Raspberry Pi for felonies. Um, but just
I hadn't
today,
read this article when I used that terminology.
no, I know. What's really funny is today I told somebody you are not allowed to hack without express permission from the organization that you are attempting to hack. Otherwise, it's instantly a felony. And they're like, only if you get caught. And I said, in the United States, it's not if, but when you will get caught.
Right,
Unless you,
everything's electronic, right? There's a trail.
they're essentially, you leave enough holes that somebody is going to peer through them and see who it is, where it is, when it is, how it is, and be ready for you to come back. Um, and eventually you will get caught, because people can't keep things secret. They, if they steal money, they overspend. If they steal data, they exploit it, and then they're caught. This is just the way things are. So I tell people who are interested in this field of cybersecurity, get permission and then you can do it. Or if you are feeling like you want to do this for your existence, then work for an agency that has agency so that you can do it. Um, Arguably, legally, it's entirely illegal. But with agency, it's legal. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, plus, with a lot of organizations that do this kind of stuff, that harden these perimeter electronics, you're paid to pen test. You're paid nice money to plug a Raspberry Pi in and try and hack your way in. A lot more than $5,000. Yet these three bumble
Yeah,
fart
but
their
you
way
also
in.
have to have the right credentials. I mean, not everybody's going to get hired if, for example, they have a criminal record or they don't have a certification or they don't have this.
Yes and no. I mean, if you do have a criminal record, then you better try and insinuate your way into somebody that can vouch for you no longer being the criminal. But if you've done your time, you have to start over. If you know what you're doing and you can represent that, then fine. But you're not you're not gonna you're not gonna um, be free and clear of any amount that you steal from an ATM, because there's a camera looking right at you. So you're gonna
Right.
get caught, folks. You're gonna get caught. So just don't do it. Anyway, let's keep on going. I did not throw that into the chat, so let me throw that into the chat. We're coming up on halfway through, so this next article, we'll do this one really fast. ohmTown Daily. is where the article, little snippet is. And then you can follow the visit the source to our source. North Carolina gerrymandering effort could oust a Democratic lawmaker who wrote a bill to make it illegal for lawmakers to gerrymander. So, Rep. Jeff Jackson, a Democrat, predicted he would be targeted by gerrymandering Republicans. Jackson earlier filed a bill to curtail gerrymandering when he was a North Carolina state lawmaker. The bill never made it to vote. Now Jackson says the state GOP has him on the chopping block.
Okay, wait, I was going to joke that he must have expected this was going to happen. I didn't think he actually expected that to happen to him.
Kind of fascinating. Why?
That's very interesting.
Because of gerrymandering. So Katie Belovic is the author over at Business Insider who put this article together. So let's see, where does it pick back up? In about 6 weeks, the state legislature here in North Carolina is going to redraw the congressional map, and it looks like they will try to use that as an opportunity to take me out. The majority party in the state legislature wants one of their own in this district, so they're going to bend it and stretch it to try and make that happen. Gerrymandering refers to the practice of drawing political districts that give one party a lopsided advantage over the other in an election. It should be even based on demographic information, but that's not how it works. And some of these things are defying physics if it was an object, the way that they have these lines
right, like
gerrymandered.
Looking at the shape on a map or something, it'll have 5,000 twists and turns and one little ping out to a side to get some area. Exactly.
Grabbing one little bit of property that happens to have a socioeconomic advantage towards one political alignment. Yeah. Just enough to keep it this way or that way, It seems odd to me that it wouldn't be evenly housed. Everybody, if you're going to gerrymander, then it should be seeking equity and inclusion and equality, but that's not what happens. So in the last round of redistricting, 26 states approved maps on the partisan basis. The Brennan Center for Justice reported in 2022. Just 4 states, Arizona, California, Colorado, and Michigan, used fully independent commissions to draw their maps. In an opinion in June, the U.S. Supreme Court said that Alabama violated the Voting Rights Act by creating congressional districts that discriminated against black voters. This is an ongoing thing. This hasn't changed. But now they're going to... The very fact that he drew a line in the sand around gerrymandering, and now gerrymandering is being used to oust him, is amazing.
It's really... the irony is off the charts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck. Let's keep on going. How romantic. This article's over in Mobile. Venice to charge tourists €5 actually €5, to visit. Venice plans to experiment with an admission fee of €5 for day trippers next year to try to manage the flow of tourists to its historic canals. Yeah, well, you don't want the poors to get into Venice, because obviously their character is inferior to the people who can readily afford to spend €5. Right?
I was thinking, are they going to charge it once you're out on a gondola? Or are you going to have an exit strategy if you don't want to pay it?
They just push you out of the gondola. And you don't want that. The water's not always nice. Venice plans to experiment with an admission fee of €5 for day trippers next year to try to manage the flow of tourists to the historic canals. The fee will be applied on a trial basis on 30 days next year. It's weird. Or for 30 days next year. I don't know how that works. That must be a grammar, lost in translation thing. Focusing mainly on spring bank holidays and summer weekends when tourism numbers are at their peak. So they're picking and choosing when they apply the €5. All visitors over the age of 14 will have to pay it, so families are extra screwed. The aim was to find a new balance between the rights of those who live, study, or work in Venice and those who visit the city. Everybody should just bow out of Venice tourism because,
Well, that's what's going to happen to some extent, but I think Venice is like flooded with tourists.
Oh, this is a money grab. This is going to be getting $5 per person. It's not too much and it's not too little. It's just enough friction to generate revenue, but I don't think it's going to have a real impact. Who the hell is going to day trip to Venice and not pay €5?
Well, right, especially if you've done more than day trip to Venice, like you've traveled internationally, you're going. I mean, I'm sorry, but the fee is not going to impede you.
Okay, here's one of the quotes. It's not a money-making move, he added, saying the fee would only cover the cost of administering the scheme. The scheme? That's
I
quite
think
a
that's
turn
a
of phrase.
translation thing.
I'm sure it is, but to sit there, it's kind of like holding the dagger in your hand that's covered with blood and a body in front of you and going, I'm not the one that killed that person. Well, it sure looks like it. No, this is a money-making scheme. And it's 30 days worth of how many tourists? Let's see. Visitors have meanwhile poured back into the city with outsiders. Outsiders. You mean, God, there's so much translation error, I think. Tourists, often outnumbering the 50,000 residents of the city, overwhelming its narrow alleys. Over-tourism has long been a problem for the fragile lagoon city. In July, UNESCO experts recommended that Venice and its lagoon be added to the list of World Heritage in danger, claiming that Italy was not doing enough to protect the city from impact of climate change and mass tourism. You're going to have to raise that rate higher than €5 per person to stop tourists. Because
You're almost going to have to do like entrance limits like you do at theme parks and stuff. I mean, the real problem is too many people. I mean, I get that, but this fee isn't really going to
Yep.
impact that.
And that's going to
And it's
impact.
going to cut people out that don't have money.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I led with, Oh, right. The people that can afford to bring their 5 family members and pay an extra €25 just to enter Venice. But none of that is going to, people will go into deep debt. If they're going to go to Venice, they're going to experience Venice. So
Well, the
I
weird
think,
thing is, if it was for climate, like I could see them going, hey, we're accepting donations from tourists for climate change or whatever, over
right,
tourism, the fund or something that goes to repairing the canal or whatever it is.
right.
I think people would pay that voluntarily.
I think that what you said is probably more on target for saving Venice than any fee. But the problem is that they would have to estimate what the maximum occupancy of Venice is, and that would directly impact the overall economic fortune of a tourist town. And nobody in that town is going to sit there and go, hey, you know what we should do? Limit the amount of possible money spent. So they're
Right.
in a
I
catch
mean, it's
22.
all tourism, or a lot of it is tourism driven.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that what you just hit upon would be the most brilliant solution. Allow up to a maximum occupancy, and then there's a line outside Venice.
I mean, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but
Yeah. Yeah.
if that's the real problem, you've got to tackle it.
Yep. Like Disneyland. There's only a finite number of people allowed in. Start raising the fee.
Well, watch out for like a fast pass type. I know that's not the current term, but
Yeah. Well,
like the skip lot the line privileges.
yeah, the Kardashians will be allowed in via a back entrance, shutting down Venice so that they can go on the gondolas without anybody bothering them. Ooh, the pores are getting in our way. Let's keep going. Next article is over in the Word in Law. Sony copyright claims for Bewitched spell trouble for a group that preserves old TV. The reason why I included this is because I'm really into the idea of people archiving items. While I don't do it myself because I just don't have room, but I don't have an ethical dilemma with this. Stuff that's out of print and no longer available really shouldn't be lost to the four winds, or deleted wholesale because somebody's trying to save room somewhere, when there are archivists that are all over the world that are willing to store stuff. Well, this place stored 5,000 videos, including decades-old commercials and news shows posted on its YouTube channel and its own Fuzzy Memories website. It's the Museum of Classic Chicago Television. President and Chief Curator Rick Klein's quest to save vintage Chicago TV shows and commercials was featured on WBEZ 2 years ago. But Sony fired off some claims, 6 in rapid succession, I think it is. John Brodkin reported the story over at Ars Technica. It's been updated since it was first put into our system. But the deck statement says Nonprofit Museum of Classic Chicago TV fights termination of YouTube channel. Because if you get 3 strikes, they can delete wholesale your channel. But an update at 6:56, which is after this was included in our rundown, it says Rick Klein will be able to keep the YouTube channel running. Sony's copyright office emailed Klein after the article was published, saying that it would inform MarkScan to request retractions for the notices issued in response to the 27 full-length episode postings of Bewitched in exchange for assurances that you and Fuzzy Memories TV channel will not post or repost any infringing versions of Bewitched or other content owned or distributed by Sony Pictures Entertainment companies, which is just fraught with IP landmine. It's just a minefield that you never know when you're going to cross it. I actually played a video in the last episode, and I've been waiting for a content strike to land. So far it hasn't hit, but I would not be surprised because it plays audio and video. So the original story is a nonprofit that preserves classic television videos may have its YouTube channel shut down tomorrow over copyright claims. And I think somewhere in here, it received 6 copyright strikes, not just DMCA takedown notices, but actual strikes, which is basically channel death. And they delete your content. It doesn't just get frozen where you can download your stuff. It gets wiped out, from my understanding. So it says we've received copyright strikes before, and the majority of the time we're able to resolve them outside of the YouTube system just by, 2 humans talking to each other. Sorry. No. So it says Klein wishes MarkScan had used the less punitive option. We would have just immediately deleted the videos, and that would have been the end of it, which is what I do. But they decided to go right to takedowns with immediate strikes and without even emailing ahead of time to simply ask if we would remove the videos, which they would have. But I still think that things that are out of distribution and have contextual modifications to make them with value-added discussion or something like that, that should be okay. They probably didn't have that kind of stuff. Pardon me. But I still think...
No, it's probably just like the episode or
the
something.
actual episode, yeah. Which would automatically trigger electronically because it gets scanned and they go, oh, okay, we're going to strike you. But when it's not even playing anymore, if it isn't playing anymore, and they're trying to keep everything as a historical record of shows, commercials, etc., I'm conflicted because I think people that are rights holders should be compensated for their work, but I also don't want to see history lost to the four winds simply because it's no longer a money-making venture and they don't want to store it, but there are people out there that want to store it and restream it so that you can relive those moments. I remember, the first time that I watched X movie. I would love to be able to see it in its original viewing window in time and space, go grab some popcorn and relive that moment because I loved whatever that movie was. Because nostalgia is real, and when you're young, you don't necessarily care about nostalgia. When you start getting older and you think back, yeah, those were the carefree moments. You really do appreciate it. So, and there's other things, but it's really about nostalgia. Not to mention, things can be modified when physical media is dead, and electronic distribution allows a remote location to modify the content of the purchase that you made. So there are times where a video that was purchased, particularly cover art for a movie that was purchased, the cover art can change without me changing the cover art. And it's the remote location changing it without my authorization.
Right. Which I don't understand at all because,
I purchased
you're
it.
purchasing something, but anyway.
But again, and this because we've had this discussion, I may have purchased it, but I don't own the rights to it. I only own the rights to stream it in perpetuity. Yep, to consume it. So I can't resell it. I can't gift it. It's mine and only mine. So at least until my will kicks it over to whomever I choose. The dog next door. Anyway, it says, but after 16 years of Klein and his group who rely on donors and volunteers archiving old videos, the TV Museum's YouTube channel on August 30th received 6 copyright strikes for posting 27 bewitched episodes owned by Sony Pictures Television. Copyright complaints were sent by MarkScan, a digital asset protection firm that content owners hire to enforce copyrights. So it is what it is. And if you're in violation, then you're in violation. But Klein seems to be pretty even keeled about it. Oh, well, they want it gone. I'll pull it off. But normally what's expected of you by the law is you verify you have the rights before you do it. You can't ask for forgiveness. You have to ask for permission. Otherwise, it can come down on you pretty hard, pretty fast, if somebody is pissy about it. So he'll have to wait. If they don't remove all of the strikes, he'll have to wait 90 days. And then they'll drop. Thankfully, they actually drop over time. But if you get 3 in a 30-day period, I think it is, then you're gone. Or 3 within a certain period. I don't know if it's 90 days or 30 days. So there you have it, folks. Ask for permission, not forgiveness. At least when it comes to Sony and or Nintendo.
Right.
And Wyoming. Never mind. So the next article is over on ohmTown Daily. This one will be quick. Star Trek is getting 5 new very short treks. CBS Studios just announced Star Trek Very Short Treks, a set of 5 animated shorts from Casper Kelly, the Too Many Cooks guy. The first of them will debut this Friday, Star Trek Day, in honor of the 50th anniversary of Star Trek the Animated Series. What? 50 years? Oh, how a single sentence can make a person feel old. You can catch the trailer at the link if you follow it over to The Verge. Let me throw it into... Oh, you know what I didn't do? That article I didn't throw into chat either. My gosh. Slacker. Here's this one. And let's just go over to The Verge. It's written by Nathan Edwards. The deck statement says the 5 animated shorts from the Too Many Cooks guy feature voice actors from a bunch of Star Trek shows and are anything but canon. So they're not even going to really apply. Star Trek Studios announced Star Trek Very Short Treks. There is the trailer, but you're just going to have to follow the link. I'm not going to even try to play that one. After the first episode, Skin a Cat, launches Friday, the rest will follow on Wednesdays starting on September 13th. They'll stream at StarTrek.com and the Star Trek YouTube channel. And there's the cast. But if you want to watch that trailer, go on over to The Verge. Let's keep on trekking. The next article's over in Technology Today. You can jump in whenever you want, you know.
That one went by too fast.
Sorry.
I was just getting my electrons spun up, and you were already on the next article.
I'm a speedy host when I need to be. Swedish criminal gangs using fake Spotify streams to launder money. If they would put this type of mental energy into actually doing something legit, they'd probably be it would be a lucrative enterprise, whatever it is. But criminal gangs behind a rise of bombings and shootings in Sweden in recent years are using fake Spotify streams to launder money, a Swedish newspaper reported on Tuesday. The criminal networks have for several years been using money from drug deals, robberies, fraud, and contract killings to pay for false Spotify streams of songs published by artists with ties to the gangs, an investigative report from Svenska Dagbladet. So the article is over at The Guardian. They don't have a name. It just says Agency France Press in Stockholm. The next statement is investigation claims networks convert illicit cash to Bitcoin to pay people who sell false streams on the platform. I don't quite get how they do this.
So are they trying to, like, are they paying somebody for illicit activities essentially, but it looks like they're paying them for, I don't even know why they'd be making a payment related to Spotify. Maybe that's what I'm missing.
So it looks like they're trying to wash the money through Spotify, but it's still traceable through Spotify. You know, this person paid this. That person is tied to some illegal action. It goes to the artist on Spotify. But it says the criminal networks have for several years been using money from drug deals, robberies, fraud, and contract killing to pay for false Spotify streams of songs published by artists with ties to the gangs. They then get paid by the platform for the high number of streams, thereby laundering the money. The newspaper said its information had been confirmed by 4 gang members from separate criminal networks in Stockholm, as well as an anonymous police investigator. Describing the process, he said the gangs would convert their dirty cash to Bitcoin, then use the cryptocurrency to pay people who sold fake streams on Spotify, which is a Swedish company. They made sure we ended up at the top of the charts, he said, adding that the fake streams also led to an uptick in real streams. Higher streams led to higher payouts from Spotify. The newspaper said that in Sweden, amassing 1 million streams pays 40,000 to 60,000 kroner, or 2,800 to 4,300 pounds, which that is not a lot of money. This is a very complex set. It's a pretty high friction to generate only 2,800 pounds, 2,800 to 4,300 pounds. Is that, even if it's in a month, this is just a lot. Maybe it's per person.
Yeah, I wondered what the time period was, but it still doesn't seem very lucrative.
Lucrative, right? Pretty wild.
I'm not really following this scheme.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact, the moment that they put it into cryptocurrency, it's pretty much washed because you don't know where it's going to exit.
Right. But then it kind of makes you wonder, why do they need Spotify? But I don't know.
It's weird. This has to be pretty limited in the number of people that are involved in this. Like
It
everybody's
doesn't sound like it is. Oh,
a
you mean
friend.
one scheme, for example, only involves a few people?
Only a few people, yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's 3 of these Spotify filters, But I don't know. It doesn't really say how many. It just says that there's a large number of streams, but who's paying the person to do these stream taps? Because it's not like it's just done. Okay, we're going to amplify
Because
the
it's
number
gang
of
members, it said.
how many gang members and how many times are they streaming and how many devices are they streaming on. This is so weird about the complexity of this thing. But okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It just seems too high friction to be lucrative. All that effort could have been put into something legitimate and they'd be making more money. Sell sneakers, you make more money than that in a weekend.
For legitimate music streams.
Yeah.
If there's some music talent.
If it's good music, yeah, you make more money there. All right, let's just keep on going. This one's hurting my brain. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Sand mining is a huge problem, a new global map shows. There's a picture of a dredger that's shooting sand onto a beach in France. When we go over to the Verge, people are dredging an alarming amount of sand from the seafloor, the United Nations Environmental Program warned today. An average of 6 billion tons of sand are taken from the marine environments every year, according to a new global data platform from the UNEP. I think this kind of technology is amazing, but it is environmentally a nightmare because all of this soil, this sand, dirt, rocks, whatever, that's sitting somewhere has been decided by nature that that's where it goes. And when humans start disrupting it, it disrupts the flow of the ebb and flow of water. The Hawaiian coastline has been disrupted because people have put breaker walls out from their property, and it has disrupted the flow of water along the coastline, changing where it erodes and then causing greater issues. So it says here in the deck statement, sand is a ubiquitous construction material, and that's taking a growing toll on coastal ecosystems and communities. Justine Kalma over at The Verge put this article together. They mentioned the 6 billion tons, and then they say that comes out to more than 1 million dump trucks of sand extract. How many surveillance balloon bus combos is 1 million dump trucks?
Probably quite a few.
Do you think it's a 1-to-1 ratio? Because the scientific... Here, let me grab this.
Like is a dump truck equivalent to a school bus?
Correct. Is a dump truck equivalent to a school bus in volume? Huh. I'm only asking the important questions, folks. Anyway, so...
I'm still trying to figure out the Spotify scheme.
And that's my sentient AI, folks. Having a hard time wrapping their bits around. So and that thought started going the wrong way. Anyway, so they're going out to the seafloor, grabbing up all of the sand and then throwing it onto a big pile, and they're using it for various purposes, from making breaker walls in the ocean to possibly expanding the territory, which isn't unheard of. I mean, we've done that here in various places, here being the United States, not ohmTown. We're just a bunch of electrons. The simulation out of control, so to speak. So they say it's not sustainable. The amount of sand that we're withdrawing from the environment is considerable and has large impacts. Pascal Peduzzi, director of the UNEP Center for Analytics called Grid Geneva, said in a press release today, he compared the problem to deforestation or overfishing when people are using a resource faster than it can be replenished. Because to replenish would mean that all of this would have to be eroded back to where it originally is. And these guys go way out and dredge up whatever sand might be compatible with whatever their engineering effort is. So it turns into a hot mess later on. And I don't think that they really understand the long-term ramifications of vacuuming up the seafloor and then throwing it on the surface hundreds of miles away. So it says concrete happens when the second most widely used substance in the world after water. It happens to be. And sand is a main ingredient in the ubiquitous building material. Glass and semiconductor chips are also made from silica sand. That's the very, very, very refined sand. I wouldn't lump it all together, but it comes from sand. There are also a lot of artificial shorelines around the world, such as newly built islands for former wetlands, paved over to expand a city's footprint. Manhattan is like that. It was much smaller, and it's been oozed out via docks and sedimentation. The seemingly insatiable demand for sand takes a toll, unfortunately, as rising sea levels shrink shorelines. Some communities rely on sand dredged from the nearby seafloor to replenish beaches. In the future, there could be less of that sand available for coastal defenses, and when companies take sand from the rivers, less sediment flows down to coastlines that need it. They keep on talking about basically what I've been saying, and the ramifications are unknown long term, but we know what it's supposed to look like naturally, what damage it could cause later on. Who knows?
Right. Well, not only are we disrupting it, and then we're obviously not replenishing it. So, what does that mean for habitat and for tides and just any number of things?
Anything that might have been living there gets scraped up, and it doesn't necessarily redeposit. Other life doesn't come and redeposit because the nature of the floor bed is now barren of sand. It could be nothing more than rocks, which means that a different life is going to form there, because some rely on the sand to survive, others rely on rocks to survive. So who knows what's going to end up there. Anyway, humans do what humans do, and they adapt and overcome, but in that process they may create great harm in the process of surviving themselves.
This is the first article I've seen in ohmTown or otherwise about this topic. Not mining, but sand mining.
Yeah, that's because this particular issue is something that people have been doing for years and years and years, but somebody's paying attention to it now because somewhere along the line they've detected some harm that's been done. So UNEP spins up and then starts reporting out the data. So you don't know what you don't know, and there are idiots out there that'll sit there and go, well, don't ask questions. You don't know what you don't know, so you ask questions until you know what you don't know.
Crazy concept.
Back to the money laundering. That my statement hurt my own brain. So the next and final article for tonight is over in the Marble Channel. Bit by bit, microplastics from tires are polluting our waterways. We've actually spoken about this before, but in a different article. I'm just going to go straight on over to the phys.org site. Griffith University is the author of this. What they have found is essentially that tire wear over things like grates and road damage is stripping off pieces of tire, and then it's ending up in the waterways. Pollution of our waterways by microplastics and an emerging environmental concern due to the persistence and accumulation of in aquatic animals, organisms. Let me just jump in real quick. It's not just accumulation in aquatic organisms. It's accumulating in human beings simply by drifting through the air, and we inhale it. But for it to be permeating our food supply, and the food supply for our food supply means that it's going to it's kind of like heavy metals. It's going to keep on building up, and then when you eat something, it's going to be inside you in larger quantities. This I can guarantee you is happening right now. But researchers are just now finding out about this stuff. 2 years ago, this was not a debatable discussion. I would have been referred to as a wingnut for even talking about microplastics. And now it's almost one of the preeminent threats, like heavy metals, and forever chemicals, pollution, plastic, microplastics, and macroplastics, larger pieces than 5 nanometers, or microns. Uh, Combined is a massive threat to health. We don't know what it's doing to us because it's so new, yet we know that it's causing damage because the researchers, not me, but researchers have found it migrating through our anatomy. So this is brand new stuff. This is the beginning of its introduction into the food supply, and into the ecosystem. Stormwater runoff, which contains a mixture of sediment, chemical, organic, and physical pollutants, is a critical pathway for microplastics washed off from the urban environments during rain and into local aquatic habitats. But to date, their knowledge of this is funny because I could have written this. If I could focus long enough to do an article like this, I could write this article. But to date, our knowledge of the amount of microplastics in urban stormwater, particularly tire wear particles, is limited, as is the potential strategies we could use to minimize this source. The only way to stop this is to stop using plastic, because it's going to keep on breaking off. From every mil of plastic we have, it chips at the nanometer level. And then we have these little plastic spears that run around and penetrate various organs. It's been found in lungs and livers and stomachs and all kinds of stuff, muscle fiber, all kinds of places. Tire rubber contains up to 2,500 chemicals, with the contaminants that leach from tires considered more toxic to bacteria and microalgae. I like saying algae. Than other plastic polymers. They're not talking about what it's doing to humans because they don't truly know, but they know that it can be toxic to us as well.
Well, right. And I mean, this is kind of saying, hey, it's toxic to the environment. Well, guess what? It's going to be toxic to humans too once they actually get some data from it.
Yeah, and they're doing that research. So their study quantified and characterized microplastics and tire wear particles in both stormwater runoff and sediment of the stormwater drainage systems in Queensland. This is actually ongoing research from other studies that have been done in Queensland. We talked about it in a previous show, but I don't remember when it was. You'd have to look for microplastics. I typically include microplastics in the titles. So if you do a search in the YouTube channel for microplastics, it'll probably pull up everything that we've talked about, as well as if you look on ohmTown.com. I'm sorry, tried to breathe and swallow at the same time. They also assessed the effectiveness of a stormwater treatment device to capture and remove these contaminants from stormwater, and evaluated the role of a constructed stormwater wetland for capturing microplastics in the sediment, removing it from stormwater runoff. The device is a bag made of 0.2 millimeter mesh. That's typically the size of microplastics. 0.5 is macro, if I remember properly. It says, although originally designed to capture gross pollutants, sediment, litter, and oil and grease, it significantly reduced microplastics from raw runoff, with up to 88% less microplastics in treated water, which had passed through the device. Sediment samples collected from the inlet and outlet of the constructed stormwater wetland contained between 1,450 to 4,740 particles in every kilogram of sediment, with more
That
microplastics.
statistic is just really alarming.
Yeah, per kilo.
But I like the 88% statistic. That's a good one.
Yep. So I'm glad that they're doing this research. They will have to continue, and the problem is there's nobody that can be held accountable for this except for the entirety of society and every manufacturer. um, because there's no, like, forensically, you may be able to find out the mill of the plastic, and maybe there might be somebody that makes it. Kind of like with metallurgy, if you can analyze lead is so finite for its sources that you can figure out where it's produced because of its constituent components. But plastic isn't necessarily like that. Um, so filtering is where it's at. And now the filtering is going to have to be so sophisticated at every location, everywhere, to try and pull microplastics out of the system before it makes it back into the system anyway.
Which,
Plus,
of
we're
course,
surrounded.
as you've said, is like we gotta tackle it at the root, right? Which is reduce the use of plastics to begin with.
Yep. My headphones cable is wrapped in plastic, and theoretically, it's breaking off microplastics all the time. And that's just the
That's
thing
comforting.
that's just the thing that's sitting in my hand right now. Just imagine all the rest of the stuff. Every keyboard.
Every cup that you're drinking out of, everything.
Yeah, but I can honestly say that I'm moving away from plastic cups, moving to steel, glass. But it's dangerous when you have children. So you can't necessarily endorse that with everybody. Hey, you should switch to ball jars with metal lids and no rubber lining because the plastic lining can break off into your drink. But you can use glass to your heart's content. It's infinitely recyclable. um, Whereas plastic is more toxic when it's being recycled because it off gases some pretty horrible stuff. Um, and it continues to flake off at every given moment. So where are we in this other than everybody should switch over to metal? But you have to worry about the lining being coated in plastic. Otherwise, it's going to be reactive to chemicals. Um, or you switch to glass, which is it's pretty much non-reactive to anything, but you have to be careful because too hot, it can break. Um, if you drop it, it'll shatter. We need more robust mills of glass, but then that probably might have some knock-on other negative effect. I don't know. I don't know what the strongest glass is that can be used as a drinking vessel. Um, I mean, if they make drinking vessels out of the glass that is used for iPhone glass, Gorilla Glass,
Well, that's true. Yeah.
maybe I can drop it and it won't shatter. But I've seen people drop their devices and it shatters brilliantly. Oh, well. We'll keep on talking about this kind of stuff. It's important. And at the end of every show, we're done, by the way. So we're going to take you back to Main Street. We mash that welcome sign. And we look about the newest articles to see if there's anything interesting that's going to be coming down the line. Apple signs a new agreement with ARM that goes past 2040. If see this, I'm not sure exactly what the terms are for this because Apple's already taken. My understanding is that Apple owns its own independent ARM license and not an agreement, but they wholly own their own. This must be an extension. My understanding is that Apple has their own. That's how they have the M1, M2, upcoming M3 processors, because they've taken the core of ARM and then modified it to their own heart's content. So I'm not sure what this is. So we should include that for tomorrow, and I can do some due diligence. That's sad. So let's see. Oh, we can't talk about that because we haven't watched it yet.
That's
That Star
right.
Wars
Spoiler
character
alert.
return. Son of a gun. Break into writing for alumni magazines. If you're a writer, Breaking Prose is the channel over on ohmTown.com. If you click that link, it'll pull up all of the Breaking Prose articles. If you're into writing, it has a lot of material there for you. What else? I don't know. Oh,
There was
God.
something about North Korea using stolen crypto to fund its nuclear program.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there it is. Hundreds of millions of dollars in crypto to fund nuclear program. Ay, ay, ay. What a world. If we all worked together, we'd be colonizing the moon and Mars and heading off to far-flung places, but we're too busy planting
Doing
landmines in
that.
Ukraine. Yeah, doing that. Yeah, that's saying what I was trying to say, but not saying what I said. I like that. That's a whole lot better. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it. Starfield creator on choice anxiety, long games, and exclusive titles. There's been people that are ranting and raving about Starfield, and some numbnuts went off about the what's the things? What are they like they them?
Oh, pronouns. Oh,
Yeah,
that was related to Starfield?
yeah. The guy was like that pissed off about Starfield having pronouns selection in a game where you're allowed to choose.
Right, you
He's
customize,
pissed
or I know
off.
you customize your character, but yeah.
Yeah, he's pissed off because there was choice. Yeah, so narrow-minded twit. Anyway, hurts nobody and gives choice and inclusion and equity in a game that they were going. It gave me the ability to decide my character, and then says that kind of stupid stuff. I'm like, come on, dude. Additional features does not limit you from enjoying the game. Well, they can't be happy unless nobody else gets that vanilla ice cream. Only he is allowed to have vanilla ice cream. Anyway, green hydrogen on the horizon. I don't know. Zoom announces a new AI companion. Well, that's not creepy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll go through all of the news and we'll have another 12 articles tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's it for today. Until next time, I am Merwat. That is ohmTown.com. Up there is the AI that's going to say bye. And we will see you tomorrow. You want to say bye?
Good night, town citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye again.